Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this webinar. This is a joint webinar with Sopra Steria and ServiceNow. And today we'll be talking about commanding the cloud. And this is all about driving better outcomes and faster outcomes whilst meeting all of your governance requirements. Just before we begin, just a few housekeeping items. At the bottom of your screen, you'll find a couple of ways to interact with us. Please do interact with us. We would love to have some really good questions and maybe a nice discussion about those questions at the end of the webinar. And also make sure that you check out the resources section where you can find other links and interesting things. And with that, let me dive in and just introduce our speakers today. So my name is Martin, and I am the UK Government CTO for ServiceNow. And I'll be the moderator today, as well as introducing a bit of ServiceNow capabilities. I'm joined by Ed and Ray from Sopra Steria. So Ed leads the cloud practice for Sopra Steria and brings over 28 years of experience in technology, with over 15 of those leading cloud transformations in large and complex environments. And his focus today is helping organizations move beyond just cloud adoption to really actually operating and scaling their cloud and AI environments effectively. Ray, who is the CTO for Sopra Steria, is joining us as well. He's been with Sopra Steria for over 17 years, and in his role as CTO, he's responsible for Sopra Steria's technology strategy and helping customers with their own technology choices, and has been working on ServiceNow for over 5 years. So in terms of agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about the cloud promise. Why do people adopt cloud technology, and what are the benefits that they really want, that you and we all really want to get out of it? We'll take a look at how ServiceNow can help you extract those benefits from the cloud, and then we'll bring it all to life with a real example in terms of Sopra Steria's journey, how they've used ServiceNow, and also take a look at a demo. So with that, let's dive in. I will be talking about some product features and things today, so I'll just put the safe harbor story up here. All of this is pretty standard stuff, but please be aware that there may be some forward-looking statements. So let's start with the cloud promise, and I really want to dive in. So before I joined ServiceNow, I spent 10 years at AWS driving cloud adoption and helping customers get to grips with why they would want to do cloud, and then helping them how to do their own cloud adoption as well. And really the key drivers, there's quite a few, but really it comes down to these three key drivers in terms of why customers adopt cloud technology. Firstly, they wanted to drive savings and have the ability to only pay for what they use. And also for some organizations, if you've got a global presence, the ability to deploy workloads across the globe is a real benefit. Customers want to move away from kind of really slow software delivery life cycles to much more iterative and faster cycles, increasing agility and increasing the ability to deliver value both internally and to your external customers. And then finally, security, and I'll probably bundle in resilience as well. Customers want to improve their security posture and benefit from the resilience capabilities that cloud provides by providing multiple availability zones and multiple regions, etc. Now, for many organizations, the cloud reality is a little bit different to that. For many reasons, most organizations run multi-cloud estates. For many I've worked with, that typically means a primary cloud provider where you host and target most of your workloads, but inevitably organizations end up with multiple cloud providers, and also a number of SaaS solutions all over the enterprise. And all of this obviously needs to be governed. Now, it's also estimated that around 30% of cloud spend is wasted. I'm sure, if you operate a cloud environment, you probably understand where some of this comes from. The cloud providers are incredible at providing lots of recommendations on how you can optimize and have smaller instances. But to actually realize those savings, you have to get that action on the desk of somebody that can go and action it. And then On-premises is also a reality for many customers. It might be because of specific requirements or interactions with operational technology, or just legacy reasons for still having on-prem technology. So the reality for many organizations is that they're running these multi-cloud hybrid estates, which are quite complex and go beyond any sort of single cloud tool chain. And now with the advent of AI, we're also seeing AI agents and AI capabilities popping up in all of the SaaS tools that we've got that also obviously need to be managed. And taking a look at a lens through a kind of CTO lens is like, what are we still worried about as CTOs? So firstly, technical debt. Even in the cloud, we can accumulate technical debt. And I would say cloud provides a great opportunity to better manage that, your technical estate, because it is so easy and so quick to update and iterate on. But staying on top of technical debt in an environment where you've potentially also moved to DevOps, and therefore you've got lots of different teams operating their own environments, is a real challenging undertaking for lots of organizations. And then cloud also really challenged us on how we budget for IT spend, because the spend is inherently variable and kind of depends on how much of a cloud service we use. Like this introduces some challenges around budgeting and tracking costs. And then obviously across the whole estate, again, if we've moved to an operating model where we've got sort of more decentralized use of cloud resources, we have to ensure that we've got the appropriate security across our environment. Now, this gives me an opportunity to just introduce the ServiceNow platform and just give you a sense of how it is structured as a general purpose AI platform. And then we're going to dive into specific capabilities. And when we talk about ServiceNow, it really falls into these three pillars and the horizontal. So firstly, we talk about sense. And sense is this ability to bring the right data together from all over your enterprise. And there we've got capabilities like Workflow Data Fabric that enables you to integrate and get data from different SaaS solutions or different systems of record across your enterprise and bring those into the appropriate workflows. Now, for Decide, this is all about surfacing that data to the right humans or AI agents in this case, and enable them to make decisions. But it's also about bringing additional context about the enterprise. And specifically, if you think about the human that knows all the things that everybody goes to, they typically understand, how was this case resolved before? What was the cause? And bringing that kind of context of the organization to this is also super important. And then when it comes to AI, it's recognizing that not all models are the best choice for all problems. So really being able to use the right model for the right job to drive action, which leads to ACT. And this is about creating an environment where work can actually get done. This is not about having another advisor or chatbot that just has useful information. We want to drive action on work. And we do this through providing a highly scalable workflow environment that supports necessary things within an enterprise, like escalations, reassignment, and integration with your enterprise systems to be able to take action. And then the horizontal across all of this is the secure layer, which is all about understanding the full environment that we're operating in and being able to manage risk and opportunities across that whole estate. And also, if I take AI as an example, being able to know, not just within ServiceNow, but across your whole business, exactly what AI agents do I have across my estate, what models are they using, what data are they acting on, and which business processes are they involved in. And on this platform, we build a number of workflows, and today I'm going to dive into the IT workflow a bit more. So talking about one of the workflows, I'm going to cover ITOM, which is the IT operations management. And when we talk about ITOM, there's really three key capabilities that we want to bring to bear. The first is to provide a system of record. Now, in our world, this is the CMDB, or Configuration Management Database, and this is your organization's data foundation. And this really is the foundation for ServiceNow as well. It's the central system of record for all of your configuration data and all of your infrastructure and applications across on-premises and all of your cloud environments, as well as some of your SaaS environments. And it's really important for the CMDB to be effective across the enterprise, that is a service-aware capability that really understands which business services relate to which specific infrastructure components, so that you can take the service-aware view of the world and act on it. Next, we want to be able to make use of smart operations, and particularly we want to be able to employ agentic within our AI operations. And ServiceNow AI Ops is different than other point IT solutions. It's more robust, more integrated, and more automated. So like some point solutions on the market, this ingests events, logs, and metrics from across your estate and various applications that you already use. It also uses AI and machine learning to help reduce noise, effectively eliminating up to 98% of the noise within your organization, so you can really focus on a few actionable alerts that need your attention. And we can bring all this together with the service understanding and playbooks and that business awareness to really help you drive prioritized action and resolution across the enterprise, beyond a particular single service. And then last but not least, we really want to move to a point where we can drive self-healing automation and actually get to a point where we can prevent incidents. And we do this through a capability called Health Log Analytics, which actually predicts incidents before they occur, enabling you to prevent those incidents from impacting users through intelligent automation. We also close the loop through our intelligent automation by automatically creating playbooks, for example, to resolve common issues. This might be something as simple as applying some throttling to a service or proactively expanding a disk volume within your organization. The next area that is really challenging in a multi-cloud estate is the ability to do cost management and understand FinOps as a practice has come a very long way within organizations. But again, the challenge of being able to go from a list of opportunities, so things that we know could save us money, to actually enacting those opportunities and realizing those savings for your business is where the power of ServiceNow really shines. We can use this CMDB awareness, the business awareness, and the ability to drive action across the organization to really go after that 30% waste in the cloud environment and get those savings. Now, as you'd expect, for any sort of cloud cost management solution, we do this through a number of different capabilities. Firstly, starting by right-sizing instances or any resources that you're using, identifying unused resources, and also understanding, again, with that business context and awareness, whether there's an opportunity to turn certain services off and make the most of this cloud feature that we're only paying for what we use. That helps us optimize usage as a first step. The next area where it comes into play is around optimizing the price. So with awareness of and understanding of the different purchasing models that cloud providers have, we can, for example, buy savings plans or reserved instances or those types of things to optimize that spend as well. And ultimately, this is all about enabling you as an organization to be able to set budgets and drive automated action across your enterprise. And customers are seeing real benefits. I've got a few called out on the slide here, but I think I want to link these back to, why did people adopt cloud in the first place? This is all about being able to reduce your outages, improve your recovery time, and accelerate that cross-organizational change, whilst also reducing your critical incidents. And we've got some really good evidence points of that. So just in closing of this little intro here, I just want to really land that there is real value in adopting cloud. We can achieve improved resilience, security, savings, and better agility. And the tools really do exist to help you get that value from your cloud environment. But doing so isn't all a technical problem. As I've spoken a lot today, a lot of what ServiceNow does is about bringing the whole operating model and the whole organization together to be able to drive that change. And to make it real, I'm going to hand over to Ray and Ed to tell us a bit more about how Sopra Steria have gone down this journey and what they've been doing. Over to you, Ray.
Brilliant. Thank you, Martin, for the background. By way of intro again, my name's Ray Baker. I'm the Chief Technology Officer within Strategic Digital Solutions. That's our technology division within Sopra Steria UK. I'm joined by my colleague Ed, who leads our cloud practice, and Ed will be leading a demo around a platform that integrates beautifully into the ServiceNow platform that we have within Sopra Steria. So just, I'm going to give a really quick intro in terms of Sopra Steria because you may not know who we are. So we've been in the technology business for about 60 years. We're an organisation of well over 55,000 people across the globe, and that is across Europe and India. We've been in the ServiceNow ecosystem for well over 10 years, and that started from a quite small practice in Norway to where we are now, 500 people delivering ServiceNow in our global practice across those regions. In terms of our partnership levels, we're an elite partner in build, consult and implementation, managed service and reseller. And I'll talk a bit more about what that means in terms of we're a partner, but we're also a customer of ServiceNow and how we're implementing the platform to change the way that we deliver for ourselves and for our customers. So as I mentioned, we're not just a partner, we're also a customer. But what we found in terms of what that gives us some leverage in the market is we're able to use that elite partnership and understanding that feeds into us as a customer. And more importantly, using that knowledge as a customer feeds back into how we are as a partner and how we deliver against our services across the globe. And as an example of where we're working well with ServiceNow and implementation, just over a year ago, we received the award of UK Public Sector Partner of the Year in the UK. And something we're really proud about. But for us, it's not just public sector. Whilst we're a large public sector organisation, we're also able to deliver in the private sector as well. So let me give you a quick overview of kind of how we're using ServiceNow within Sopra Steria UK. So we had a decision to make about 3 years ago, where we needed to replace our legacy ITSM platform. As an elite ServiceNow partner, it made sense for us to move from our legacy platform onto the ServiceNow platform, but we wanted it to be much more. And I think anyone that uses the ServiceNow product, this will resonate hopefully with you. It started at ITSM for us, but very quickly we were able to see how we could build out that platform to be more of an orchestration layer against IT operations, AI ops, and some of the HR functions that we have. So how are we delivering ServiceNow for ourselves and for our customers? Well, we can do this in two ways, really. One, we can use our platform to connect to your platform and help manage it. And Ed will talk through kind of some of the services we have around cloud. We also have a domain separated instance as well, and currently have 35 customers sitting on that domain separated secure instance. And that's from government, private sector and secure. And those customers are benefiting from that leapfrog from legacy to where we are today in terms of an AI-enabled predicted ServiceNow platform, and they benefit of that reoccurring investment from ServiceNow and Sopra Steria in terms of being on the latest and best platform that there is. One of the other things that we're doing, and Ed's going to talk about it more, is about how can we use the platform to manage ourselves and manage our customers' infrastructure. And we've created a cloud management platform called Nebula that integrates into ServiceNow. It integrates in a couple of ways in terms of the orchestration layer and also the AI control tower to be able for us to have a single pane of glass effectively to manage ours and our customers' cloud infrastructure. So I'm going to hand over to Ed now. Ed's going to talk you through our platform and do a demo and show you exactly how the platform works. Ed, over to you.
Yep, thanks, Ray. Before we get to the demo, unfortunately, we've got a couple of more slides to get through. So what I wanted to do was really introduce the operating model layer, just to tie it all together from the ServiceNow element and the cloud element. And it's not just all about operations, it's actually about the entire cloud transformation model that we've been working through and working on. And you may recognize some of the pillars on this slide. So, as Martin said, what we've heard is that the technology promise of cloud is real, but the operating model kind of hasn't kept pace to a certain extent. And that's really where we're talking about with this slide. So the key point here is that, organizations don't need more technology. Most people already have cloud platforms, they already have workflow tools and increasing the AI capability. So what we saw in the market and what our customers were missing was a way to connect those systems into one control governed system. And this is what we mean by the missing operating model. So rather than having separate services or disconnected projects, what we wanted to do was have one consistent way to plan and execute change across the cloud lifecycle. So whether you're starting off in your early stage lifecycle through insights and assessments and discoveries, or whether you're building out cloud infrastructure and your foundations, all the way through to lift and shift migrations, application modernization development, and then finishing off at AI-enabled operations, and really looking at those as, one executed system through a unified control layer or control plane. And that's really what we call our Nebula platform. That's really where we've kind of focused in terms of getting that end-to-end view of what is going on in the organization from a change point of view. Okay, so if you take that kind of linear view on the last slide and kind of put it into a disk, which we've done here, it really is a continuous process. So the model is designed to scale. So whether you want to scale across one application, multiple workloads, or entire data centers, this is what the model is designed to do. And it's really the simplest way to understand what the unified control plane actually does. So, again, at the center of the slides, what we want to take away is we're moving from projects to governed workflows. So we're moving it from a factory into a disconnected model into a factory-style AI-led model. And historically, cloud change has been delivered in that way. So you may have one project for building the platform, one for migration, one for app development, and then optimization afterwards. And it just creates that little bit of inconsistency, repeated effort, manual coordination, particularly in environments where you have multiple suppliers, multiple stakeholders, and that type of thing. Keeping track of all that activity can be problematic. So what the unified control plane changes is that execution model. So it turns cloud change into those governed, repeatable workflows rather than those bespoke projects. So there are kind of four moving parts to that. First is the orchestration and AI agents in the orange box in the top left. And this is about coordinating work across those systems, activities, and teams. So cloud change progresses through a structured path instead of manual handoffs. And then we have our governance and guardrails. So the idea here is that controls are embedded into the workflow itself. So policies, approvals, controls are built in by design. So that really means giving the AI spec-driven requirements. So you may be a financial services client. You can feed in different policy requirements. You can feed in architecture standards, security, whatever the case may be. It's really built in upfront rather than trying to build it as we go or as an afterthought. And then third, we've got continuous insight. So this gives us an always-on visibility across cost, risks, performance. So organizations are not relying on delayed reporting or periodic reviews to understand what's happening. I'll show you a little bit later on the demonstration about how that works, particularly around assessing your governance in terms of security, architecture, that type of thing, and maybe cost control as well. And then fourth, cross-platform. So as Martin said earlier on, this isn't just looking at a single cloud. This is actually across public and private clouds. So whether you're running AWS, Azure, Google, even into your productivity suites, and then on-prem and private cloud, so VMware, Azure Local, whatever your stack is, it needs to be consistent and a consistent model across all those platforms, so you can get a single view across your environments. And as I mentioned, most enterprises are operating across multiple environments. So that kind of brings back into the tooling and suppliers. So it's not just about a technology problem. This is a governance and how everyone operates together in that single place of accountability, and working across those boundaries to kind of break some of those barriers down into one clean stack. Okay. So we're trying to bring it to life in the demo, but just to set the scene a little bit, I'll show you two basic. The team put a lot of work into them. We'll show you two workflows, which gives insights really, really quickly. The first one will be a well-architected framework assessment across a public cloud environment. Normally, that's a consultancy-led engagement. It can take a number of weeks. We've got AI to do it across not just one platform. So if you're running multiple platforms, we can do it at the same time. And that returns the results from a well-architected framework assessment anywhere between 30 minutes and 2 hours. And again, you can give it that contextual information, not just technical, but business. So what are your policies? What are your security requirements? What industry you're in? And I'll show you that in a little bit more detail in one of the demonstrations. And again, it's that end-to-end workflow. So looking at bringing those decisions into a work stream across that automated orchestration with that embedded governance, and getting that real-time visibility is going to be really key for organizations moving forward who have got large cloud environments. They're starting to lose control. People want self-service, all that kind of good stuff. We need to have that governed view across the whole stack. Okay. So let's bring it to life and get into the demo. Okay, perfect. So as I was saying, we can see here our main dashboard across insights, foundations, migrations, and modernization. And really that's showing an integrated workflow across those 5 pillars that I talked about earlier on. So we're going to talk around some of the elements in insights, and we'll do some foundational work as well to show you the workflow kind of meat and bones. So let's get into a well-architected framework assessment. So really we're going to choose, we can choose a customer, we can choose a different environment, but we're going to just choose our WAFR agent. And what we're going to do is choose our platform of choice. And we're going to choose our environment, and we're going to choose the pillars that we want to do. But in this case, we're going to select all of these pillars as part of the well-architected framework assessment, and we're going to launch the agent. And really, it's as simple as this. Now, this workflow has been pre-configured with contextual information. But you can see the agent is running, and we'll do a time lapse on the demonstration. But this means that you can basically do well-architected framework assessments on demand. We can pull back to report. It'll give you a quick snapshot of where you are, what your posture is across those 5 pillars, and we can drill into different areas and give recommendations and tasks, and we can then put in some change around executing some of those tasks and workflows. So really we've made that process a lot easier to get an instant view across either projects, across BAU environments, so you can really keep a history and audit trail of what's been happening in your environment and manage and contain configuration drift, etc. Really at a push of a button. Okay. So now we'll just quickly jump into FinOps. Same principle. FinOps agent, we have given the contextual information in terms of what to look out for from a business point of view. Finance information, we can hook it into your hyperscaler agreements. We can tell it to look out for reserved instance information, resources that may not be in use, etc. So whatever your requirements are, we feed into the agent, and really it goes off and does a scan across the environment. Again, we can run multiple agents at the same time. This is a whole operational dashboard of the agents in action. And if we just let that run for a second, hopefully we'll be able to see the report back. So again, we can view the report. It will look at our total spend. It will do a trend analysis for us. It will look at our compute, our storage, and really give you those quick insights where we can take really quick action and decisions on what's happening in the environment. So it really is that real-time view that we're getting into our cloud platforms. And like I said, this can be run across multiple platforms at the same time. So whether you're in Azure house, AWS, or Google. So here's where it gets into the workflow a little bit in more detail. So what we're going to do is build out a bit of infrastructure for this customer. And what we're going to do is we're going to just give this a quick project name. And really what we're going to drill into is kind of under the skin in terms of what the workflow looks like and how we've built it out. So you can do this across an environment for one application, for multiple applications, or entire landing zones. And you can have options around what blueprints are approved, what services are approved, whatever that contextual information is needed. The system will and the agents will adhere to those policies and configurations. So let's just choose our target platform. Bicep, actually, let's just choose Terraform instead as our IAC language, and we'll choose an architecture style. So again, this is a pre-approved architecture style that we want to push into the environment. And then what we do is we just give the agent a bit of contextual information. I'll just paste that in there in terms of what we're actually looking for to deliver this service. So it's basically just natural language. So this is basically turning infrastructure as code into infrastructure as intent. So we're telling it what we want. And it's going to go away if I launch the agent and hopefully run the process for us. Okay, just checking that. Okay. So I can launch the agent. So the first thing the system does is it establishes the governing principles for the solution, and they are the pre-requirements that we've given it. And these include like the infrastructure as code, the security first design, observability, and cost accountability. So the governance is not something applied later, as I said earlier. It's built into the foundations and solution from the outset. So that's just doing a sense check on what our principles are. Again, it can be architecture patterns, it could be business requirements, as I mentioned. And then what it's going to do, it's going to generate a structured specification, so functional, non-functional requirements, success criteria, and key architectural components. So this is all standardized and repeatable, which means the organization is no longer relying on different teams or individuals defining this differently at each stage. It's all built in to the agent and the model. So we can see there it's generated our requirements. And it's made some assumptions down the bottom. And then what we do is it's going to do some clarifications. So this is the system actually proactively asking us, not based on stuff that we've given it, but it's actually based on what it knows about our business. So it's looking at what compliance we want to do, what our RTO, RPOs are, and what integrations we may want to have. So I'll just put in ServiceNow, for example. So the system is driving that clarification. So I'll just approve those clarifications. And this basically ensures that the design is aligned to real business requirements. And then on to validation. So the specification is validated, checked for completeness, clarity, consistency, and coverage. Again, this is about removing risk earlier on. So rather than discovering gaps later in delivery, we're just going through that validation phase manually to prove what we have is what we want to deliver. And we can review this before we go into any approvals for delivery. Okay, so it's going to go into planning stage, and it generates an implementation plan covering things like the architecture, the tooling, the CI/CD, security, observability, and compliance. So this is all based on the information we provided and what it knows about our business from our policies and security and operations. So you can see how it translates that into a concrete delivery structure. And this includes like infrastructure as code modules. It includes environment configuration, deployment pipelines with controls and approval gates, etc. built in. So it's not just design documentation. It's a fully defined way of delivering a solution really, really quickly and adhering to those governance and policy guardrails that we spoke about. So next, it'll generate the tasks. So the plan is broken down into executable work. So what you can see here is the system converting that design into structured tasks, mapped to user stories, sequence-based dependencies, and optimized for parallel execution where possible. This is where the delivery model becomes real. And so instead of relying on manual planning and coordination, the structure of the work is generated in a consistent and governed way, and we have a clear view of what's going to happen to deliver our solution. Okay. Then we do some testing across across it, and we can do an analysis. So our final validation, before any code is generated, the system performs a full cross validation of what we're doing. So it checks for gaps, ambiguity, inconsistencies across the design, planning and tasks, and performs the quality assurance that we'd probably next do on a manual review, which could take time. So it's identifying and prioritizing issues by severity as well. So those can be addressed before the execution continues. Okay, so what it's doing now is generate our infrastructure as code, and it's a Terraform. And again, our engineering team can then go in and review that code, what's been generated, validate that it's fit for purpose, look at other modules in terms of, if I scroll down here for a second, see networking, our security. So this is all AI generated. And then we can move back to our central dashboard, and we can review again our project before we actually execute it. I'm not going to execute the project because I've got no platform to go into. It'll just cause a load of errors. We can view our principles, we can view our spec, ready for maybe a senior architect or somebody else to come in and review what's been proposed. And you can see how long that process took. It was a 10 minutes kind of workflow to build out an environment for a particular application. And we can really deliver our infrastructure in that manner in a really fast and consistent way, which can be reused over and over again. And I suppose really the principle here is this isn't just for infrastructure. We actually use this for the software development lifecycle as well. So we move legacy application modernization through similar gates, whether we want to document the application, export our business logic, refactor code, look at databases, and then move into a live system. So we use the same workflow across infrastructure and applications as well. Okay. So where do we go next? So we're happy to take questions in the chat. But if you are looking to understand where you are today, we can come in and run a workshop and analyze where you are from that workflow perspective. Do you have a consistent way of delivering cloud? Are you looking to embed those into ServiceNow? Are you early stage in your journey? So we have, track one, which is kind of you're on the journey, you're early stage, you're looking at moving workloads into the cloud. You may have moved some, and we can come in and do a workshop around the workflow and assessment piece. Or if you think you're already mature, you've got a mature ServiceNow platform, you're already in the cloud, but want to combine those two elements, then we can also come in and help you establish those early stage workflows that you can then move forward and transform your business in the way that we've kind of shown you. A very quick demo, a very quick run through, but hopefully you could see how AI is changing the way we're managing cloud change and projects across organizations.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Ed. That was super slick. And it's really cool to see how you bring it to life. I've done many a well-architected review before, and it's they can be such valuable tools within the organization, but also take a lot of time to gather all of the information you need for the review, when the majority of the value is actually having the conversation around kind of the findings and figuring out again how to drive action and an improvement, rather than spending a ton of time just finding the information to understand the current state. So
exactly that. And we're seeing our customers using these workflows to, like you said, get those insights really, really quickly. And that allows them to uplift their environments to meet their requirements, or, even if they're building net new environments in the cloud, we typically see up to 70% of time saved by using AI-driven workflows to deliver infrastructure solutions. And on the application side, our customers are seeing rapid transformation across legacy applications. For example, we're working with a government client, and we transformed 70% of a 30-year-old Oracle application in about 6 weeks end to end. And that included the application, the back end, and the user interface, which was just, normally that would probably take 5 or 6 months. So So the customers are really seeing the benefits of this put to work.
Yeah, very cool. Great. So we've got some time for a few more questions. I've got a couple here, and let me cover this one as a starting point. It's like, so there's a question on the integration of other developer tooling. So lots of development teams using, Jira or Confluence or other types of tool to manage work, and then the role of kind of enterprise change, and like, where do these two worlds kind of come together? If you've got a DevOps team delivering and operating within a particular tool chain and kind of wanting to get this enterprise visibility. I don't know, Ray or Ed, if you've got something on that.
Ray, do you want to take that?
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, we were both being polite there and just pausing to see who was going to answer. Yeah, so I'll kind of talk about our story really in terms of what we found has been useful is having that orchestration layer across a technology orchestration layer, but also people understanding the value of collaboration as well. As you see from the platform that Ed's just shown, that can be standalone, but it can also be integrated into ServiceNow as well. So that's what we really like about the platform, that ability to orchestrate and use different technologies, but kind of under one kind of ecosystem banner almost. So that's how we're working. We've spent a lot of time on around culture as well. For me, DevOps is about the technology, but it's also the culture of that, and people understanding kind of why we do it and how we do it. That definitely breaks down some of those kind of culture barriers that we've seen in the past in terms of the way that organisations and teams have been working, and then really understanding the handoffs that they need to have and the collaboration that they need to have in the team. So, yeah, we're in a situation where we have our own infrastructure and our own environments, but we also manage our customers as well. So all of those technologies you've mentioned are there, but again, it's about that collaboration and understanding kind of key outcomes.
Yeah, I've also I had an engagement with a very large UK-based government department recently, and we did a bunch of work around this in terms of like looking at that DevX and what's the developer experience. Like, ideally, you want to remove as many barriers so that developers and product managers and user researchers, etc., so that they can really focus on their trade, which isn't necessarily sitting in review meetings and governance meetings, and nobody kind of wants to go to work to go and necessarily have those types of meetings. Well, I guess some people do, but like lots of the developers want to be creative and drive value and deliver interesting things. And in that work, we've really looked at even from a tooling perspective, like you said, how can we really integrate with tools whilst bringing it together from an enterprise perspective. And it was interesting. One of the resistance points in a particular DevOps team was, and they were a really good team, they were like, why should you be in our change cycle and in our pipelines and things like that? We don't need this enterprise hookup. We've got a grip of change as we're driving it in our service. And the example that really resonated with them was, there is a lot of enterprise context going on, which as a single DevOps team, you don't really want the mental load of having to know everything going on in the enterprise.
Yeah.
And you want to be able to safely push change without potentially impacting things if there's a bigger event going on. And so, kind of the default mode chosen there was that most changes, even though they flow through ServiceNow's, change capabilities, most changes just get auto-approved unless there is a cross-business event going on. There might be a code freeze, outside of that domain, but that kind of relates and where we have a dependency. And again, with that CMDB and service mapping and all that awareness within the platform, we can kind of make some of those decisions. Excellent. Yeah, that's really cool. Great. Any other questions from folks? Again, please just drop them into the Q&A and we can have a go at those. Otherwise, I've got one for the Sopra team, and we didn't rehearse this, but I'm really interested in, how do you go about building your agents, or how do you decide which ones to build? Obviously, there's so much opportunity in this, space with AI and all of the capability that these models have, etc. It's like there's so many things that you can go do. How did you decide to kind of focus on these agents that you showed us today?
Yeah, it was a thought process around a couple of things. What we saw initially, what our customers were asking for, and what their pain points were in the marketplace. So getting visibility and insights, as I mentioned, into their environments and what was going on, and not having long drawn out processes to get that information back so they can make key decisions really, really quickly. I think that was one starting point for us. And then we looked at, okay, what we felt were commodity type delivery mechanisms. So, infrastructure as code, AI is pretty good at doing that type of stuff. So how could we get it on that bus a little bit, but actually put that business context around it? So not just creating generic code. How do we feed into the models all around that business layer, which we saw missing? We've seen customers who are trying to make a step into cloud, and they take 6, 7, 9 months just to build out an environment because of the policies and the governance and decisions that need to be made. So we've really tried to accelerate that process. But really, historically, where organizations have struggled is the application modernization piece. And that's been a cost barrier because of how long it takes to modernize a legacy application, particularly if the people who developed the application are no longer in the business, right? So we wanted to get to a stage where we had a refined model before we tackled that big piece with application modernization. So if we could commoditize those first 3 stages in terms of, the assessments, the infrastructure build, even lift and shift migrations, now we're using AI to do that for some of our customers. It's saving a lot of time. It's saving a lot of heartache in terms of the whole governance and risk layer. But to really get to that application transformation piece is where we want to get to, because AI is brilliant at, documenting a system, exporting the business logic, looking at the functions and features, and then refactoring the code. But it's that governance model that needs to be in place. So how do you make sure you're adhering to those design principles, you're adhering to those software development methodologies that are built into your portfolio, and then moving the application into a governed cloud system. So it's really and also how do you control the AI hallucinations? So how do you go about making sure AI is not creating some tech debt already in the new system? So it's having that visibility into what the AI is actually doing. And what we tend to do with our platform is actually on the more complex stuff, we invite the customer into the platform so they can be part of the review process. So they can look at the business logic, they can confirm any features, and then we can make decisions in terms of, okay, maybe we can give the AI control over these basic modules, but actually we want to make sure our governance and our approvals are really focused on the more complex parts of the application. So it's really about that governance piece. It's not about the technology, it's all about the governance.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting from my perspective, where, as ServiceNow, where we see a lot of the focus is like, you've got this incredible capability with AI models that can do all these things, but the challenge really is, like you said, getting the right context to the model, which is a lot of, kind of that sense pillar that I was talking about from our platform's perspective. And then also, if you do give it execution capability, you want to be able to hold it accountable and have some gates and have controls in place to make sure, that you can control the execution of what the model does in a really, really granular way. So we've got another question here. Does this require a big upfront transformation, or can we introduce it gradually?
I'll take that one, Ray, if you want. This isn't designed to be a big, lengthy transformational program. I know organizations are fatigued with lengthy transformational programs. They want to see, really quick results and moving into proof of values. And that's what the model is really designed to do. So really starting small, putting in those I won't say basic. I hate using the word basic, but there's real commodity-based workflows that start to demonstrate that value. Yeah, the operational side of it, and then moving into the heavier lifting around infrastructure and the WAFers and that type of stuff. So it's designed to be an incremental, iterative process and continuous improvement, and getting someone started really, really quickly, as opposed to going in and doing lengthy workshops and discoveries and all that kind of stuff from a consultancy point of view. We really have the models now. We just going in and defining what your requirements are. We can shape those solutions to tailor to your organization.
Awesome. Thanks, Ed. Did you want to add anything, Ray?
I think yeah, it can be gradual. It can be large scale. It's all about the outcomes. I think the difference now, maybe where we were a few years ago as a technology enterprise, is that we do have, agentic AI is making a difference now in terms of helping with decisions, and also the kind of heavy lifting. And as Ed showed with the architected framework, I've done those in the past, and they can be painful. They can be and they take a long time, and then you're kind of scratching your head of, is this ever going to end? That heavy lifting is now moving and becoming automated, and decisions are being presented back. That's freeing up, that is freeing up our experts to be able to have the quality, deep conversations with our customers, and for ourselves as well, to be able to get to better outcomes and better decisions at pace. So yeah, it's kind of pick your flavour really in terms of how far you want to go with this. But certainly what we've seen with our customers and ourselves is this is sped up the decision making. It hasn't reduced the quality in the decisions. Actually, it's helped with the decisions, and we're able to get to those decisions a lot quicker. So yeah, it's great to see Ed and the team have really created something really compelling here, and that's why we wanted to talk to you guys about it today.
Awesome. And then final question, we're coming up on times why now? People have been adopting cloud technology for well over a decade now, and many organizations are all in on cloud potentially. And I think the questions come in. I guess what I would my bit of the response would be that I just think there is still so much value on the table. Like, the technology can do incredible things when it comes to improving your security posture, resilience, driving efficiency, etc. And the reality is that many organizations simply aren't getting the maximum value that they should be getting from cloud. And with the opportunity cost of, the ability to direct technology spend to other technologies like agentic AI that can deliver massive value, it's more important than ever, I think, to be able to redirect and identify savings where you can, so that you can invest those in, much more impactful and interesting outcomes. But that's my take on it. What do you think, Ray and Ed?
Yeah, I'll probably go first, Ed, and then hand over to you. So everything you just said, Martin, in terms of that, but let me try and add some more to it. I think as well, the difference now is that legacy tech debt is just piling up and up and up. And actually, there's still so many organizations that are still only dipping their toe in the kind of cloud opportunity puddle or ocean, shall I say. So there's opportunity there. But tech debt is going to be the big battleground over the next couple of years because of agentic AI. One, the ease to be able to get to the cloud, but also how agentic AI will create some issues around cyber, et cetera. So organizations are going to have to face up to that quite quickly. I think it's all about control and governance as well. And a lot of organizations have, without being too dramatic, lost control in terms of their spend and their cloud infrastructure. And without an approach that enables them to bring it all together into a single kind of pane of glass and system of record, they're not going to know what they've got and where they've got it. And that creates cost challenges, and it creates cyber challenges, and it creates tech debt challenges as well. So yeah, that's kind of all the reasons, without sounding too dramatic and say, but that's the conversations we're having with customers, in particular in the government sector as well. Ed, over to you. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think there's lots of value to bring with this, right? In terms of, and I wrote a blog about it a few weeks ago. We've gone through the operating model in terms of cloud and CCOEs and that type of stuff. And what we're seeing in certain cases is CCOEs are starting to become a constrained bottleneck because they're just not scaling with the demands in large organizations and how fast people want to move, right? So it's bringing that extra speed and agility to those environments. And it's not about moving people out of the way. It's actually giving people a more controlled way to govern things at speed. And I suppose the message we push into our clients who are heavily regulated, particularly, is that speed doesn't necessarily mean bad. We can manage our risk and governance and still move quickly. And I think that's a key value we can drive home.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think on that, I just want to, I guess, close out and reiterate, like, we think there's still a lot of value on the table. I think that point that, increased governance and visibility does not have to slow you down. In fact, I think quite the opposite. Like, it can help you go faster whilst delivering better outcomes. And, the importance of having both an operating model and a platform that enables you to bring together your whole enterprise and look at it holistically and operate it holistically is really critical. And we can still meet people where they are and give builders and developers a great developer experience, whilst also giving the security and governance teams the insight they need to be able to do their job in terms of securing the organization and helping drive good security practice across the organization, for example. So with that, I just want to say thanks a million to Ed and Ray for sharing the story, and thanks to all of you for joining. Please check out the resources to follow up if you want to engage, or connect to one of us we're all on LinkedIn if you wish. Have a great rest of your week, everybody.